This is MrsAgroSquerril standing in for Agro while he recovers from some vocal strain. It could be a while yet, but he is recovering. I hope you enjoy. Paralyzed by Oriel117. This was proving to be a terrible mistake. Terrible. Absolutely, categorically terrible. This is why you don't become a pirate. That's what everyone said. Did I listen? No. Oh, I'll get rich. Oh, I'm a good shot. Oh, I'm a klaxron, a natural hunter. None of it mattered. Not now. The crew I was part of boarded a ship, some merchant. An easy target by all accounts. Minimal defenses, lazy crew, that sort of thing. Well, that is what was supposed to happen. Good pirating practice is to keep things simple. Show off your guns, make some threats, and get the merchant to surrender. You then board the ship, grab a hold of the manifest, and take your pick of the most valuable cargo. Leave, and everyone leaves alive. This ship did not surrender when we bared our teeth at her. No, they just kept going, ignoring us. So we tried to hail them, and got no response. That should have been a red flag. We knew the ship was fine, fully crewed, all that. Our sensors picked up 20 or 30 crew, a good number for a ship of that size. The engines were fine, and there were no signs of damage. All of that to say, we knew the ship could see and hear us, and yet it kept on keeping on. As I said, it's a red flag. The second red flag should have been the ship's name. HASV, feeling lucky? Who names a ship feeling lucky, honestly? And HASV, a quick search of the databanks brought up the relevant information. Human Alliance Service Vessel. That was to say, this was a government, probably military, transport of some kind. The lack of escort was then questionable. Regardless, we got a little impatient. We moved to board the ship. It didn't maneuver and didn't arm its weapons. We stepped aboard and saw an Enthin eating its lunch, yelp at the sight of us, and then scurry away into the ship's depths. So, our 20-strong party moved in further, past the bulkhead, which then slammed shut. It split the party in two, 15 on the inside and 5 on the outside. I was on the inside. With a growl, the Gutherin, Rithiak, announced we would be heading for the bridge. We'll gut these insolent whelps and take the ship as a prize. And then the lights went out. All of them. There was no emergency lighting, no faint red glow, just darkness. Then I asked the dumbest question. Does anyone know what a human actually is? A reply from a fellow klaxron did not provide much insight. Some upstart species, bipedal, quite smart, but that's all I know. We turned on our flashlights and started moving. The ambient noise was then turned off. Most vessels had ambient noise to mask the groaning of the ship's hull as hundreds of parts strained against the confines of space. With it gone, each creak, each footstep, each breath, echoed out into the black. The flashlights of the boarding party swayed in the dark, looking around at the endless halls and infinite dark. I should have felt rather comfortable in this situation. My species rose to dominance as ambush predators. The dark is our ally. So why am I so nervous? The other klaxron said, in a hushed tone. A small voice then rang out behind us, soft, almost delicate. Because you aren't the only thing lurking in the dark. We all turned to face it, but found nothing. Empty space. We keep moving. The ever-abrasive voice of Rithiak barked. So we did. We kept walking, and then we came to a junction. We knew to turn right, and after that, there should be another junction. And we were right. The issue was a bulkhead closed again, splitting the party again. To make it worse, one of us got trapped in the door and died almost instantly. 7.5 on one side, 7.5 on the other. I was in the group that made it through the door. You couldn't see anything. There were no windows. But if you yelled, you could be faintly heard on the other side. That is what added to the terror. On the other side of the door, all you could hear were screams. No gunfire, no resistance. Just screams until they started dropping off one by one into the black. Those humans, do they have night vision? I asked. only to get a shaken head in response. "We move on," Rithiak demanded. We had our number cut down to less than half by 2 doors in the dark, and we were still moving on. The few seconds we spent moving felt like an eternity. Each step was almost deafening, and then one of those steps resulted in one of us losing their head to some kind of blade. The shock drove us all scrambling away, and another fell into another blade, impaling himself. In panic, I fired my weapon into the wall. The shots hit the cold, hard metal of the ship's corridors, and nothing else. Scorch marks left on a blank wall. Where had those blades come from? Once my nerves had settled somewhat, it was obvious that these were traps. 2 tripwires suspended bladed weapons. This wasn't even done digitally. There were no electronics. This was all mechanical. This was primitive. "We move on." Rithiak was getting desperate. It was his head on the line either way. Come back in failure, and he'll be executed by the captain. And it's not like we had much choice. I reloaded my weapon and kept moving. The number of lights in the dark down to 5. Another junction. Straight on. As we stepped through the cross junction, we heard a whirring sound, as something was spinning up. We realized barely too late what it was. 2 chain plasma guns. We dove to the other side, though one of us was caught and ripped to shreds. "We move on," wasn't even said. We just kept moving. At this point, my twin hearts would implode, given how fast they were racing. 4 of us left. Once we had walked a bit in silence, my nerves once again settled. I realized this was exactly the situation my kind thrived in. Ambush predators work best alone or in small groups, and that's the situation we were in. I nodded to my fellow Klaxron, and we turned off our flashlights, letting our natural night vision kick in. The other 2 in the group looked confused before they came to the realization that we were trying to leverage our natural advantages, so they turned off their flashlights too. We moved carefully with quiet steps. "Watch for the wire," I said softly, spotting another tripwire. Looking up, you could see the blade it was attached to. Thump, thump, thump. That noise caused us to stop in our tracks. Thump, thump, thump. It was louder now, getting closer, but given how the ship echoed noise, it was impossible to figure out where it was coming from. With a quick glance around, I realized all too late we had moved faster than I thought, and we were in another junction. As I was about to yell, the thumps got louder and faster, until it was too late. We all turned to the left, a fraction of a second too late, and just missed the thing running past us. It grabbed number 4 of our group, and we all opened fire as he screamed for help. The screaming stopped rather quickly, and a loud thump was heard, followed by those same thumps getting quieter. I moved to investigate and found the missing member dead, killed by our gunfire. We just moved on. A few moments later, we forced open a door and entered a large dark room. We stepped into it and found it empty. A few more steps and then a shot rang out. Rithiak had fired his weapon. We turned to see what at, but there was nothing. Then my fellow Klaxron fired, just past me, and I again turned to see nothing. "The ship, it doesn't have a hollow room, does it?" the Klaxron asked. I shook my head. It didn't. Rithiak, who had turned his attention elsewhere, then spoke. "Then explain that." I followed his gaze. It took me a second to realize just what I was looking at. There, in the dark, reaching impossibly high, past what the ship could contain, were eyes. Hundreds, if not thousands of them. No 2 were the same. Some had burning irises, and others were a deep blood red. But one thing that unified them all was that they were all unnatural. And then a strange noise rang out, and Rithiak fell to the floor, blood gushing from his neck. As soon as his body hit the deck, incredibly bright lights turned on and pointed right at me and my fellow Klaxron, blinding us. In those lights, you could almost see the silhouette of a biped holding an outstretched arm. Then a voice rang out, similar to the last one but a lot rougher, like whoever had spoken so long ago had just swallowed some gravel. "You are under arrest. Surrender your weapons." We didn't take much convincing. We dropped our rifles and put our hands up. We were arrested by what I would later know to be humans. I never found out what happened on the HASV feeling lucky. I just knew I was spending the rest of my days in a cell. End of story.
I'd greatly like to thank our Tier 5 channel members, Casper Arnholt, John Creighton, Manatharia, 050, Dragzoon WRE, and Elijah Silvercross. Thank you very much.